But Boston can say, hey, we just won game one, and our superstar had the worst game he's going to have. You know, like, he's not going to have a game that bad. That has to bode well for Boston.
The Boston Celtics showed, excuse me, they are the team to be reckoned with. They are no joke.
YouTube, how's everyone doing? Jags to Riches, James Peters, thank you so much for your time. Game one, NBA Finals is a wrap, and the Boston Celtics would jump out and take game one with a victory of 120 to 108. They have now gotten back home court advantage. Briefly, guys, we're going to go through the box score, some of my key takeaways, and just obviously with it being the finals, there's only two teams. There's storylines galore everywhere. You can just grab one and run with it. So we'll kind of touch on some of my key storylines as well. Before I do start, I want to apologize for missing the pregame show yesterday. Just not feeling my best, a little head thing going on, a lot of pressure, headache. So I didn't want to come on there and have to like kind of fake it through it and have my energy affect, you know, be a negative impact in any way, just simply because that's game one of the finals. You want to be hyped up, you know, and ready to go. So let's get straight to it, guys, starting with the box score. The Boston Celtics. Now, Jason Tatum. Now, this is going to be one of those interesting ones, guys, because we've seen the job that they did on Luka the last series. Now, granted, Tatum and Luka, while they can be similar impact-wise on their teams, the game, whatnot, they are different players. Completely different, honestly. You know what I mean? You don't let the stats, you know, that just because the stats are the same and they're both top 10 players, don't let that fool you. They come at the game in a completely different way. Luka has the ball in his hands a lot more. I mean, it's just, I could go on. I could do a complete comparison between the two. But the point being is the job that they did on that, Tatum himself, he even stated that he watched a lot of film from that previous series, you know, the WCF, and the job that they did on Luka defensively. Now, he's going to be blitzed. He's going to be basically everything's going to be thrown at Tatum, right? 12 points, 5 rebounds, but this is 3 for 17 from the field, shooting 1 for 5. But this is what's key. 13 assists, right? Plus 16. 3 for 17, only 12 points, but was still a plus 16 and had 13 assists. His playmaking was on fire, and that is what you have to do. If you're not going to be able to affect the game with your scoring and you're off 3 for 17, you need to make impacts other places, and that was huge because he's always going to be a big impact on the defensive end. So that I'll take that, you know, because we know we're not going to see that. That was one of his top 3 worst performances throughout these playoffs. That, along with the 2 game threes from the past 2 series where he scored 10 points, right? And let's not forget how Jason Tatum has always responded in those bad games. Those shitty games, he always bounced back with what? He was averaging like 32 or something like that. So not worried about Tatum. And in fact, we'll get back to that performance shortly. But our leading scorer, Al Horford, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 9 for 12 and 6 for 8. Lord have mercy. And he carried us down that very important stretch to close out the game. When we closed out on the 17-0, we went on that 17-0 run, and that just insane fourth quarter we'll speak about in a second. But looking at the rest of the team, Jaylen Brown was also spectacular. 24 points. He was 10 for 23, 2 for 8, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, coming up really big, and, you know, being that number 1 option when Tatum is off. You know, he actually led the team in shot attempts. But Marcus Smart has a history of playing really well against Golden State. It's just one of those things, for whatever reason, he really does get up for those games. In both the regular season games, he scored, 20 points, 8 assists in the last one. And the one before that, he had 19 points and 8 assists. Right? Look at tonight, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. I mean, defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart. But I would say the big story and player of the game, in my opinion, was Derek White. 32 minutes off the bench, plus 25 to lead the team. 21 points, 6 for 11, 5 for 8 from the 3. He was spectacular. And it's to the point now, it's like 3 out of the last 4 games, he has been phenomenal. If you look at it, I think it was the game 5, game 6, definitely game 6 against Miami, where he dropped another 20 piece, but unfortunately it was a loss. But it's one of those things, guys. I said it yesterday. The more I see and the more time it seems like he's growing with this team, the better he is getting, the more comfortable, because he stated for the longest that it was the speed. It was taking time adjusting to the speed of the game, but as or the speed of our, what we're doing. Don't forget, like, why is it such a special year? Because of the midseason turnaround, meaning that the entire team, struggled at the beginning of the year, implementing a new system. Everything Ime was doing, it was different. So it takes time, is my point. So being patient with Derek White seems to be the best course of action, because it is starting to pay off in a big way. But showing love and respect to the opponent. Steph Curry, guys, wow. 34 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 12 for 25 from the field, 7 for 14 from the 3. He came out and lit us on fire. I mean, he did 21 points in the first quarter and was just spectacular. Carried them. I mean, it was beautiful basketball to watch. I mean, just when somebody can get into that type of rhythm that quick, it's a spectacle. It really is. Now, granted, a lot of people's points on, why he's such a tough matchup is because of how much he's moving, coming off screens. That wasn't the case, man. He was walking into wide open shots where it's just like, you see that and just like, holy, of course he's going to make that shit. Anyone would make that, let alone the best. So, we'll get back to Curry in a second, but Klay Thompson, 15 points, Andrew Wiggins with 20, Draymond Green, 4 points. He was 0 for 4 from the 3. He did have 11 rebounds and 5 assists. Jordan Poole, I mean, that's one of their big spark plugs off the bench, played 25 minutes, only had 9 points. I believe it was his worst performance so far of the playoffs. But this is one of those game, guys, where the first quarter, like I stated, Curry had 21 of their 32 total points, right? He damn near outscored us. We had 28 total points, and he had 21 by himself. But why that isn't, and there's 2 ways to look at that, right? And this kind of goes back to the big points that, we made in on the call-in show the other day about, even though that there's these players, the Giannis, the KD, the Currys of the world, they're going to get theirs, right? 21 points in the first quarter is as good as it gets. But what about the fact that he only had, 13 over the next 3? That's 4 points, a little over 4 points in an average quarter. So you go from 21 in one quarter, and then the next 3, you're only getting 4. That sounds like there's been a defensive adjustment, right? My point being is that even though these players can pad stats or have breakout games or really put up 34-piece performances, you can still see individual and really good defensive jobs and adjustments throughout the course of a game if you watch it in its entirety. And I think this was a perfect example of someone that scorched us early on, but as the game went on and fatigue set in, which was a really big thing with them, that was surprising how quickly they seemed to get gas. But it was one of those things where they really did control a good amount of this game, but we kind of just stayed in, stayed in that, striking range. We would go into halftime. It was 56 to 54. However, the third quarter, they would, bust it open on our asses, and it would be 92 to 80. That's when we would go into the fourth with a double-digit lead. And in fact, that's where we actually set that record, because it was, we were the first team to ever come back from a double-digit lead entering the fourth quarter, something like that, I believe is what I read. So again, Celtics making history, but we would essentially go on to outscore Golden State 40 to 16. They only scored 16 total points as a team in the fourth quarter. We scored 40. This included a 17-0 run. And that was around that 6, a little less than 6 and some 5 and some change. Essentially, it was 103 to 100 with Golden State. And then we'd go on that 17-0 run. Al Horford, shot after shot. Jaylen Brown, Derek White. I mean, Peyton Pritchard was great in this game. I mean, like I said, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum's playmaking. I mean, this team was, for them to bounce back on a night like this, right, where Curry has literally his best performance in a quarter of his incredible career. Think of that. Think of what that man's accomplished. And I'm pretty sure, unless I'm mistaken, that was the best quarter of either his playoff or the entirety of his career, right? You're playing against a team that was, what, 9-0 at home coming into this game. And believe me, the Golden State fans made sure to not let us forget about that, even though the fact that, the Celtics were 7-2 or something like that on the road. Now we're 8-2. So we've done pretty good on the road as well. In fact, handing Golden State their first home loss, now putting them at 9-1, as well as snapping their 13-game win streak with Kerr. That's pretty damn impressive. But I think this is one of those things, guys, where the fact that, again, Curry has the first quarter that he has, and Tatum has the kind of game he has, and we're able to pull out a win on the road is incredible and is huge. We've already did mission complete already for this first start. What do we always say? You got to get one on the road. That's it. Game 1 or 2, bring it back 1-1, heading back to TD. That was the mission here. We've already accomplished that with the potentially chance to go up 2-0. And then it gets very interesting. Imagine that. You don't think Golden State's got some pressure on their asses now going into game 2? Because if they go down 2-0 heading back to TD Garden, all we really got to do is just get one then, and it's 3-1. And then they have to, Cavalier, 2016 us, or it's a wrap, or whatever year it was that the freaking Cavs came back 3-1 on them. But one of the big things I've been seeing, it's this whole narrative. And I've seen it first in that silly ass guy on Locked On Warriors. And my God, he talks so much shit. You would have thought that we shouldn't even have shown up. All right. He really makes me, like Celtics Jay said, appreciate John Corrales on Locked On Celtics, because he's a clown, bro. He had me so heated just because of disrespect. You act like the Celtics players have such exotic names. Half the damn team's named Williams and Brown and White. And he's acting like he doesn't know players' names or how to pronounce them. It's just being an asshole, right? So he immediately gets on there because now he looks like a clown because we just, won on game 1, and he made it seem like it was they will never shoot like that again. Same thing you've seen in Draymond Green's post-gamer that Kendrick and Eddie House recently reacted to this.
And Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and Derek White combined for 15 of them. So those guys.
Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and Derek White, they accounted for what? 15 out of 23. I don't think they'll do that again. And that I keep hearing that, and they won't shoot like that again. Why that's funny to me, first off, is because it just lets you know that these people have no idea what they're talking about and clearly haven't been paying attention. We just did it twice in the last damn series. In the Milwaukee series, the semis, we did it twice. We've done it twice on this playoff run already. Game 2 against Milwaukee, we shot 20 for 42-ish or something like that, right in that ballpark. And then game 7 against Milwaukee, we set a record-breaking 22 made threes, which we hit 21 last night. So we have already shot right at 50% from 3 as a team. We've already broken records, which we didn't break last night in total makes. So to say that this is just oh my God, that they will never do this again. We've already done it. That's the 3rd or 4th time this playoffs that this team has gotten, lights out. And I guarantee if I broke it down and look into more games, those are just the ones off the top, man. And that's 3. So, and then, okay, fine. You don't think we'll shoot like that again? You don't think this player will do that again? How many more 12-point games from Jason Tatum do you think you're going to see? Because he has given us this one dud kind of game. And I don't even want to call this a dud, because in the last 2 series, the game 3s, he had only 10 points, but he only had I think a couple rebounds, an assist or 2. It was a negative on the game across pretty much, whereas how can you say that when the man had 13 assists and you know what I mean? So I don't want to call it a dud, but from a scoring standpoint, when a man that can go for 40 or 50, 60, right, he can do that any night. He's had multiple 30, obviously more realistic. He's had multiple 30-point, performances. He basically averaged 30, in the opening round against the Nets. He's averaging what, 27 points a game coming into this series throughout the playoffs, 7 rebounds or damn near something like that, 6 assists, 5 assists. I mean, he's been excellent, right? Larry Bird, Eastern Conference MVP. I think Jason Tatum will be just fine. So as quick as they are to say the Celtics won't do this again, they in the same breath need to say, well, what's the chances that Jason Tatum will do that again, right? Just make sure you're saying it all together. But I mean, again, guys, this is just a huge win, a huge opening game, a statement win at that. By the way, shout out to my man, Jack Bienvenu, man. My man, Jack, was trending yesterday. I seen him on ESPN, the tattoo guy for those. The man that got the 2022 tattoo. I feel like people know him as the tattoo guy better than his actual name, but been a guest on the show multiple times. Shout out to Jack. I was reading an ESPN article, but with him yesterday, and I thought it was pretty badass. I was actually hitting him up, congratulating him. But again, guys, awesome game one, despite everything that we were up against. Celtics with a 1-0 lead heading into game 2 this upcoming Sunday. Pre-game shows, post-game shows. I'll probably try. I mean, we've got another day off here, so there's a good chance I'll try to post something out, try to post something else, you know what I mean, before Sunday's games. But again, guys, to all the new subscribers, we were just at, in the 390s, not a week ago, a couple of days ago, and now we're already past 420s. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all more than you could ever know. Jags to riches. James Peters, have an excellent conclusion to your week and an even better weekend, guys. Take care.